With us drawing near to the end of this Hush 2 storyline, I am deeply conflicted. Because on one hand, yes, this is very action-packed and things get pretty crazy pretty fast. Other hand though, a lot of the decisions and stuff going on is very questionable and almost out of character for a lot of characters here, especially Batman in this sense. Because he fights everybody, even his own friends and allies and family. Now, if you're unclear and confused about where we are in the story, I'll leave a link to a playlist with all of the videos so you can get caught up. But basically, Hush has returned and he has set everybody against him, even his own villains and such, forcing Batman to save the Joker's life, then fight against the Bat family. And now even his own flesh and blood, as Batman even says in the heat of the moment, I am alone, the way it was at the very beginning. No entanglements or allies, just his own judgment, for better or for worse, for good or for bad. Though we do see this little attack squad that is formed to take on Bruce in the state that he is in now. You have Nightwing, Catwoman, Damian, Robin, Huntress, and even Edward Enigma, the Riddler of all people, which we'll get to in a second. But Batman realizes that he is in a corner right now. He's good, but he's not good enough to take on all 5 of them at once. So he even says, Hush has turned them against me and manipulation is his game. And like Batgirl was here previously, which made them fight in the first place, they are driven by the emotion of the situation, forcing Batman to take control as he literally pulls out a device and paralyzes her once more. And here's the real kicker, because Batman even says confrontation is the one thing that Hush wants, so he needs to use their weaknesses against them to avoid that, which this is like the worst thing he could have used for Batgirl specifically, because being paralyzed after she was shot by the Joker in the Killing Joke, that's literally her biggest trauma ever. Like, he could have just knocked her out, made her go unconscious, but no, he had to paralyze her, making her relive this. Bruce even knows this, as he even goes on to say, it may seem heartless what she is feeling, the loss of control from the injection, the haunting memories it brings. Not only that, but he hates the choice that he's being forced to make. Even though the effects will quickly fade away and she'll be back in full health, she and Dick may never forgive him. Which, I don't know, in my opinion, that's just kind of crazy. Like, he doesn't actually want to hurt these people. These are his family. And he knows all this is Hush's plan to divide and conquer, make them fight against each other to eventually break Bruce down to his core. Yet he still unintentionally plays into this anyway. So as he swings off while everybody's distracted, he looks up and over to try and find Hush, because even as he says it, Thomas Elliot Hush would never have orchestrated all of this and not taken the opportunity to study it, as he actually finds Hush is there. Though before he can do anything to pursue Hush further, he is interrupted by Catwoman tackling him into the nearby church. Of course, them having a little scuffle. The entire time though, Catwoman is barely trying. She doesn't want to fight him. She doesn't want to continue this cycle of violence. No, she's trying to reason with him and see why this entire thing is happening, which eventually she is able to say just that, how she doesn't want to fight, forcing Bruce to stop. And instantly Catwoman is questioning, what is Bruce doing? Barbara is like a daughter to him. Not only is he fighting with her, but paralyzing her, making her relive her worst trauma. And guess what Batman's only reply to this is, well, I didn't start it, she did, so I'm just going along like it's a game or he's a child. Selena continues on saying that, I get it, Hush is pushing your buttons, being forced to save the Joker's life. Horrific. But these people, the Bat family, the people who he's fighting against, they are as close as family as anything you'll ever have. Which is true. Bruce, in any situation, ideally, even at this point, the years and decades that he has been on the job, that's the last thing he would want to do, fight against the people who he holds in the highest regard. But guess what his reply is here? The understanding that these allies here are the closest thing that he has to a family right now. He simply says, well, I didn't ask for any of that, which is just crazy and kind of out of character for Batman, as he essentially is saying that, Dick, Barbara, Damian, all the other allies, the situation and circumstances just happened. He never wanted or asked for any of them to become as close as they have been, which I don't know, maybe that mindset worked for a younger Bruce, inexperienced and just new to being a team player with a larger Bat family. But here at this point, that just doesn't seem plausible for Batman to say. Though Selena even continues relating it to their own relationship, as she goes on to say, I think about why we could never truly make it work. And I'm okay with believing that there is just some walls that you will never let come down. A wall that you have built around yourself to protect the 10-year-old boy who saw his parents shot to death. Though Batman has thoughts of his own, as he goes on to say, I think about how much you know about me and how often I feel like I do not know you at all. Of course, referring to Catwoman, which again, after all this time, is kind of crazy. The life and death situations they were in, the years being allies on and off, whatever have you. Heck, they were even married at one point, even though that lasted for 6 seconds. Though in the middle, before they can fully come to a conclusion or stop this entire fighting by just talking it out, like they should do as adults and seasoned heroes and veterans, what have you, suddenly a Robin-shaped grappling hook shoots through the window, yanking him out as Robin, Damian Wayne, just drags him through the streets. Yes, the same Damian who not only came to help Batman and knows the true enemy they are against, Hush. Heck, Hush literally had him at knife point about to kill him and knows that he has a larger scheme at hand, yet Damian decides here, well, we're gonna fight against each other. Well, let's not ask questions and let's just take on Batman. Because why not? Though as he is dragging Batman through the streets, hitting him on cars and any other debris, damaging him further, suddenly his ride is stopped short by the Riddler intervening and shooting the line. Now, this entire time, we're not exactly sure why the Riddler is here with the Bat family, siding with the heroes this time and not with Hush, but what we can safely assume is Hush came back in town, wanting to finally break Batman even further, do whatever a villain wants to do, Hush in this case, and the Riddler took offense to this. There's not going to be another super genius in town crafting plans, getting ready to push Batman to the brink, so he decides, I'm going to be even better than him and help the Bat family overcome this. And of course, he wants to take on Batman himself. So as now they come to blows and fighting, Batman and the Riddler almost have a conversation in the form of questioning and answering. As Batman first goes on to say, question, why are you here and why are you with them? The Riddler gives one answer, to do something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, and instead gives his own question, asking how do you go toe-in-toe with Batman? You simply study his every move. Years of Batman using the Riddler as a punching bag. So another question, how does it finally feel to be on the receiving end, as the Riddler is just beating on Batman? Which doesn't make sense, Riddler, he's never been a physical powerhouse in his own right, at least not to the extent of being able to take on Batman in hand-to-hand combat, which Bruce even says is that he is stronger than he should be or even could be, in which the reality is he hasn't just learned to go toe-to-toe with Batman, but it's an exoskeleton suit that he is using to overcompensate and make up for the weakness. One that is specifically designed to echo his own fighting style, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Imagine just giving an average Joe this same exoskeleton suit, which makes him stronger than a base human, but also all of Bruce's fighting skill and talent on a whim. But regardless, with Batman knowing this now, he simply attaches a gadget which just electrocutes and takes the Riddler out. Though before he's able to pass out, Batman asks him one more question. Tell me, why are you here with them, the other heroes and allies? Which the Riddler again says he's only here because they need all the help they can get. He knows whatever Hush is planning and trying to do. Because Hush has friends in very low places, which keep this little line here in the back of your mind because it does come into play a little later. But while all of this fighting is going on, Hush himself decides to get in on the action. From a rooftop, pulling out a weapon and starts to fire upon the heroes. Of course, though, Nightwing retaliates, and in the same fashion, so does Bruce, and they both get him at the same time. Which this interaction here should be the end of it. They know Hush is on the playing field. Batman, of course, knows this, sees it here in a moment too, but it gets even more complicated as just then the Batmobile arrives. No, it's not because Bruce called it here, but Jason Todd steps out of it, the Red Hood, who this entire time has been seemingly working with Hush. Now, it's not because Red Hood has turned evil or anything, but he's only using Hush for a means to an end because his brain has been deteriorating, and for whatever reason, only Hush has the answers to whatever Red Hood is in need of because, Hush was at one point the best brain surgeon in the entire world. Though Batman puts two and two together and realizes that this is all strategic. Jason here, he isn't the target, but he's a distraction. The real golden goose egg here is the Batmobile itself, which we'll see in a second, but as Jason Todd, Red Hood, runs off, Huntress goes after him to try and shut him down or whatever have you. But on the other hand, Bruce finally confronts Dick and Batgirl, who is now up again from being paralyzed. Nightwing simply says he wants to talk to Bruce, yet Bruce in this instance says none of you want to listen, even though Batman has made no effort to try and talk to them and lay out what is truly happening. Nightwing, of course, wants to get to the bottom of this and tells Batman that he just can't let him leave and continue on whatever he's doing and not letting them in on it. So Batman just, throws the Batmobile's door at him, telling him that he does not need his permission because, of course, instead of having allies in it, only Bruce knows what Hush is doing and only he can figure it out, even though he has these allies for this very reason, except, he wants to play the loner card. And even as he activates the Batmobile, knowing that it's a trap, the entire thing just blows up, or more accurately, the floor beneath them. All of this, of course, still being within Hush's overall master plan, whatever that may be. And even as Batgirl realizes that, Batman wasn't escaping, he threw the door to act as a blast shield to save them, Bruce is still flung into the sewer system down below. And here is where we finally get what Enigma said earlier. He has friends in low places, as we see a bunch of villains. Who knows how many there are and who exactly they are, but for one, we do see Bane. And on the other hand, we see the Joker himself also there with Batman, helping him out of the car, as he goes on to say, look who fell in. Which we don't know if this entire thing is even real so far, because previously Bane was working with Damian and helping Batman. Now here it seems like he is against him with Hush, even Joker here as well. Hush essentially tortured him and broke his jaw and whatever have you. But this entire thing has been a complicated mess for Batman and the entire Bat family here. But that is the end of this video. If you have enjoyed, leave a like or subscribe if you're new and want to see more content just like this. As always, this was AJ here at The Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.